Fear gradually became my companion in every aspect of life. I no longer felt safe at home. Every creak in the floor, every draft of wind through a crack, every shadow on the wall made me jump. My apartment, once my sanctuary, now felt like a trap. The tinge of paranoia in my mind had grown into a roaring flood, and no place felt safe anymore. I began to isolate myself. Even casual meetings with friends or colleagues became unbearable. I couldn't focus on the conversations. Their faces seemed to blur in front of me as my mind constantly raced, replaying the images of the shadows that lingered in my peripheral vision. I would sit in a cafe, trying to act normal, but my eyes were always scanning the room. And then it would happen. I'd see something in the corner of my eye. A movement, a shape, a silhouette, indistinct but undeniably there. And I would freeze. "Are you okay?" Someone might ask, but their voice would sound distant, as though submerged in water. My thoughts would be deafening. Don't turn around, don't look, don't give them what they want. But how long could I continue living like this? I wasn't sleeping well. Nights were the worst. I started to avoid turning off the lights, sleeping with every bulb in the apartment on. The dark became my enemy, but the light didn't feel safe either. The shadows clung to the edges of my vision, always waiting. I could feel them creeping closer, testing my resolve. I reached the point where I started leaving the TV on all night. The low buzz of news anchors and sitcoms my only comfort. But even the flickering screen seemed to create unnatural shadows, pulling me further into my own madness. I began questioning if any of this was even real. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore anymore. It was the middle of the night. I had woken up, heart pounding, gasping for air. I could hear the familiar low hum of the television in the background, casting dim light across the living room. But there was something different this time. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating. It was as though something unseen was pressing down on me. My eyes darted across the room, expecting to see the usual. My cluttered coffee table, a few empty cups, and the glow of the TV. But in the corner, where light barely reached, I saw it. A shadow, not the usual shifting darkness I had grown used to, but a figure, a form. And this time, it didn't disappear when I blinked. I held my breath, my body frozen, paralyzed by the weight of what I was seeing. It was watching me. It had always been watching me, but now it made itself known. The room was too quiet, too still, and the figure seemed to grow taller, expanding to fill the space. Instinctively, I clutched the edge of the sofa. My knuckles whitened. Every part of me screamed to run, but I couldn't. I couldn't look away, and yet I knew. If I turned to face it, everything would be over. Days blurred into nights. The line between reality and hallucination became harder to define. Was it really there? Or was my mind finally breaking under the pressure? I stopped going to work. It wasn't worth the effort of pretending everything was normal. How could I face my colleagues when the very concept of normality was slipping through my fingers? They had begun noticing my absence, leaving messages on my phone asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. But I couldn't explain. How could I tell them I was being hunted by something I couldn't even describe? I thought about going to the police. Maybe they would believe me, like they hadn't believed Vladislav. But what could I tell them? That shadows were chasing me? That I was hearing whispers in the night? They would lock me away in an instant, throw me in some padded room. No, I had to deal with this myself. One evening, I ventured back into the city. I couldn't stand the silence of my apartment anymore. I wandered through the streets, aimless, hoping the noise of the outside world would drown out the storm inside my head. The lights from the shops and the passing cars provided a strange sense of comfort, though it was fleeting. But then I saw it again, a fleeting glimpse, just as I passed a narrow alleyway. It was there, barely visible in the dim light from the street lamp. A figure, standing perfectly still, watching me. I stopped. My heartbeat quickened. The familiar instinct to run surged through me. But no matter how far I ran, it always found me. So I stood there, paralyzed in the middle of the street, as people passed by without a second glance. Didn't they see it? How could they not? It was right there, right behind me. Don't turn around, I told myself. Don't give in. The figure didn't move, and neither did I. I don't know how long I stood there, rooted to the spot, but eventually the figure faded. It didn't move, didn't disappear in a puff of smoke. It simply became one with the surrounding shadows until it was gone. Was it ever really there? I couldn't live like this anymore. The constant fear, the inability to trust my own senses, it was driving me mad. That's when I decided to reach out to Katerina again. I needed answers. Maybe Vladislav had left something behind that I missed. Some final clue, some explanation. I needed to know how it ended for him. When I arrived at her apartment, Katerina looked worse than the last time I saw her. The dark circles under her eyes had deepened, and her skin was pale, almost translucent. It was clear she hadn't been sleeping much either. "Do you still feel it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. There was no need for pretense anymore. She knew, just as I did, that once the shadows found you, they never left. Katerina led me to a small drawer in the corner of her living room. She pulled out a single piece of paper. It was a letter, written by Vladislav before he vanished. She handed it to me without a word. The letter was short, scrawled in hasty handwriting. It was barely legible, but the message was clear. They are closer now. I can feel them all the time. Every breath I take, they are there, watching, waiting. I don't know how much longer I can last. I know what they want. I won't give in. I won't turn around. But he did. He must have. That's why he was gone. I could feel the weight of the truth crushing down on me. No matter how hard you resist, they always get what they want in the end. I left Katerina's apartment with a hollow feeling in my chest. There was no escaping this. Vladislav had tried, and now he was gone. I would be next. It was only a matter of time. I returned to my apartment and sat in the dark, waiting. It was quiet, too quiet. The shadows danced along the walls, shifting with every flicker of the streetlights outside. I knew they were there, just beyond my vision, waiting for me to slip, to give them that one moment of weakness. That's when the whispers started again. Soft at first, barely audible. Then louder, more insistent. Turn around. I shut my eyes tightly, pressing my hands to my ears, but it didn't help. The whispers were inside my head now. I could feel the presence behind me, so close I could almost feel its breath on the back of my neck. Turn around, it repeated, over and over. I couldn't take it anymore. I had fought for so long, but I was tired. I was so tired. What would happen if I turned around? Would it finally be over? Or would it only get worse? I slowly opened my eyes and let out a shaky breath. My heart was racing, every muscle in my body tensed in anticipation. I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, if I faced it, I could finally be free. So I turned. The room went cold instantly. My vision blurred, and for a moment, I thought I had gone blind. But then I saw it. A shape, a figure, just like the ones that had haunted me for weeks. It was standing there, still as a statue, its face obscured by shadows. I couldn't make out any details, but I didn't need to. I knew what it was. It stepped closer. I couldn't move. My body refused to respond. The figure moved in slow, deliberate steps until it was right in front of me. I could feel the cold radiating off of it, seeping into my skin, chilling me to the bone. Then, without a word, it reached out. I didn't scream. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there, frozen in place, as its hand touched my shoulder. It felt like ice, burning and numbing at the same time. And then everything went black. When I woke up, I was no longer in my apartment. I wasn't anywhere I recognized. The world around me was dark, formless. I couldn't feel the ground beneath my feet or the air in my lungs. I was floating in a sea of shadows, surrounded by figures like the one I had seen. They were all around me, watching, waiting. I was one of them now. This is my last confession. Now you know what happened to me, but now they are coming for you. You feel it, don't you? The cold breath on your neck, the whispers in the dark. Don't turn around. If you do, you'll become one of us. If you've made it this far, it means the story got to you. Hit like, share this video, and let me know in the comments if you've ever felt someone watching you. And don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales. Check out the other videos on screen now. But remember, don't turn around.